Coming up on today's show, we are talking about how to stay healthy mentally and spiritually during this holiday season. Hello, darlings, and welcome to the season 2 opener of Wake Up Well. Listen, I have missed you guys so very much. Reunited and it feels so good. I cannot sing. God didn't give me those hoo-hoos, but you guys, I am so excited, so excited to see you guys. If you guys have missed us, make sure you drop it in the comments. Also, if you missed us, share this with your friends, family, and your community. I'm so excited about today's broadcast. I have special guests. We have our resident mental health hygienist in the house. And you guys, this is just going to be an incredible show. Paula, hello, darling. How are you? Hey, Jasmine. Thank you guys so much for joining. I see we do have people on our Facebook and our YouTube. Zeta, hello, darling. Hello. I've missed you guys so very much. I think this show is going to be absolutely incredible. Why? 1, because we've been gone so long. 2, because we have amazing guests on the show. And guess what? You're here. So I want to thank you guys so much for being here, those that are watching live, but also those that are watching the replay. Remember, when you watch the replay, you can put your questions in there because we always go back and whatever we didn't answer live, we can answer offline to make sure that you get the questions answered that you have. Tiffany, hello, darling. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you. Oh, Paula, we missed you too. We missed you. So you guys, without further ado, listen. I want to make sure that I bring on our resident mental health hygienist. I know y'all thought I was going to say co-host. He got him a new title, y'all. Listen, he is out here doing big things. So we're going to bring on Marty Sellers.
Hello, darling. How are you?
Marty, can you believe we're back together again?
Yes, I love it. Reunited. Come on, you were singing all right. Well, you were singing good. You were singing good.
No, Marty, you can really sing. So go ahead and hit us with that reunited.
Listen, and it feels so good. Reunited, cause we understood. Yes, there's one perfect gift. Yes, this one is it. Now you have a husband though. We both are so excited cause we're reunited. Hey. Look, I dressed up for you today.
Look at you. Thank you so much, Marty. I'm so excited. You guys, we are back. Val, thank you so much for joining, darling. Rich, I saw you pop in. Thank you so much for joining, darling. I just feel like the community is back together.
Right.
So before we get started, you guys know how we do it. So go ahead and put it in the comments already. What are you grateful for? Yes. Don't think that we got away from that. Let us know, what are you grateful for? And I think at this time, it's so important that we dig and we find even that glimmer of hope. We did something on hope last week on Marty's show, so you can go check that out. But what are you grateful for? And while you guys are in the comments, I want to bring on our next guest. He has held this seat actually during Men's Health Month. He is the love of my life. We will be married for 15 years, December 31st. And I am so excited. I am so honored. I'm so blessed to call him my husband. But even if he wasn't my husband, I would still have him on the show because he's just a wealth of knowledge. And so we are really going to talk about how to stay healthy mentally, spiritually, as he leads a community here in Atlanta, but he is also a VP in a technology company. And so leading in this time, we want to talk a little bit about that as well. So I am going to welcome, without further ado, John Henry Scott III.
Hey, everybody. Good evening. Hey, baby.
Hey, babe.
Hey, Marty Mark.
I'm
good.
Wonderful. Good
So
to see you.
you guys know how we do it. Paula said, I'm grateful that we survived 2020. Listen, if we have gotten this far, we have come a lot further than a lot of people. My wonderful friend, lover, and husband, Butch. Oh, that's so sweet. That's Val. So, Marty, what are you grateful for, friend?
You know, there's so much, and I have to chime in what Paula said about surviving 2020. Despite the fact we've gone through a lot of difficulties, a lot of hardships, a lot of even grief and loss, we know, and I say this because for those of us who are believers, that we are encouraged and we don't grieve and go through experiences as those who have no hope. But I'm grateful that all these things has taught us how to persevere and prepare ourselves for the best that is still yet to come in 2021.
I love that, Marty. I love that. And I agree. I agree. Val says, hello, my Pastor J. Girl,
Hey, Val. Hey.
you know, she gets on me. She be like, you taking care of my pastor? Yes, I am taking care of your pastor.
That's right.
So, babe, let us know, what are you grateful for?
You know what? I'll lead in right there with what Valerie is saying. I'm so grateful for a community of people who helps to take care of me. Right. My life is quite crowded. Always giving and pouring out. And so it's nice to have people to consider you. So I'm very grateful for that. You know, my default is I'm always grateful for my wife and for my family and things like that. But in this moment, I want to kind of pivot. In addition to that, I'm really grateful for the community of people who's concerned about me. It's nice to be in a position where you have folks that's also concerned about you. So I'm grateful for that.
Absolutely. I love it. I love it. You know, I have to piggyback really on all of that, right? Grateful that I made it this far, that we've all made it this far in 2020, and grateful for the opportunity to serve the community, right? And to serve you all and to be able to bring topics and shows and people on that not only encourage you, but encourage me. And so I'm so grateful that you guys show up. I'm so grateful that in the times when we were on breaks and I needed a mental break, that the community were the people who were saying, we missed you. We're thinking about you. Right. And so that's why I say this isn't my show. This is our show. And so just the opportunity that I get to serve and to make an impact. And it's not me by myself, right? I have Marty, we have Doc on, we have my husband on, we have all of these great guests that I have the opportunity to meet, and they pour into me, and then we can then pour into you guys. So that's what I'm grateful for. So that is amazing. One of the things that I want to make sure, nice Paula. To see you, Pastor Scott.
Good to see you.
One of the things that, you know, I want to put up here, and I'm going to leave it up here for a little bit. Y'all listen, let me tell you something about ownership. This is why ownership is so important. Because when you are on other people's platforms, when you are using different things, they tell you what happens, right? So y'all know we love our texting. And honestly, I'm beefing up my texting. We're getting ready to do 12 days of impact starting next Sunday. Through the 31st, right? So we're going to start next Sunday, and it's going to be 12 days of impact. I'm going to show up on my IG stories and Facebook stories, and they're small things that you can do to make an impact. So if you want to be part of that challenge, one, if you're already on our text list, there's nothing you have to do. I'm going to send it out to you so you have it. If you have not joined our text list, I want you to text the word impact to 323-927-0998. Daryl, leave that up because y'all, this is what I'm talking about. So I'm going back because I didn't forget what I was talking about. They done changed the number on us, sister. You know how we used to be like 31996, so easy. Right. They done changed the number, and I couldn't figure out how to pop the link in. Yeah, I'm listen, this is what happens when you're on live TV, right? But you guys, I want you guys to join this challenge with me. One of the things that I get all the time and asked is, well, how can I make an impact? These 12 days, we're going to talk about how you can do it in small doses, small steps, one day, one person, one impact at a time. And so if you want to be a part of that, we're going to send that calendar out on Friday. So you are ready for Sunday as we go through the impact. And so beautiful. I want to make sure that I know how you're making an impact too. So you'll get daily text messages as well. You guys know whoever is texting me back, you know know I will text you back. So join our community impact to 323-927-0998. And so, hey family, sorry, Thomas was in here. I'll let Daryl put it up. But, one of the things I wanted to make sure we had this particular conversation, because for me, I love the holidays, Marty. My husband will tell you, I mean, honestly, if he flips the camera, you will see we downstairs, we have 2 Christmas trees. One Christmas tree when you come in, one Christmas tree off to the side in the living room. And you just wait till he buy me my mansion, Marty. Listen.
Uh-oh. I hear professional decorators.
Listen. Honestly, I want to do my own trees. I just love it. So I love the trees. I will bring somebody else in to do the other stuff. But I love the holidays. I mean, I started putting our tree up before Thanksgiving, especially this year, because I felt like we needed it. Right. However, that's not the truth for everybody. And so I think it's important that we don't miss this and that we don't miss this opportunity to talk about how can I stay healthy mentally and spiritually, because guess what? December 5th is going to come and go, and the holidays are going to be over. And now I still got to live life. And so we still want to press on. So one of the things I want to talk about a little bit, Marty, is let us know, what is holiday blues? Because I've heard it, but what is it?
It's one of those things that we toss that phrase around a lot, but we don't totally understand what it means. And the holiday blues, there's a couple things that we define holiday blues as. When you lose the momentum and the desire to do those normal things, such as put up a tree, such as maybe make cookies and those type of things, when you're finding yourself in the bed more than normal, doing a lot of excessive sleeping. Or you could be doing the opposite when you find yourself with insomnia, where you can't sleep enough because our minds are busy worrying about things to come, or we're so depressed about things that have happened till it impacts us to the point we cannot, and we struggle with doing some of the basic day-to-day activities. Then we can definitely be classified in that holiday blues time. Because as much as we like to say it's the most wonderful time of the year, that's not the story for everybody. And that's okay. Because holidays reminds us of times of grief, sorrow, losses, loss of jobs, loss of maybe finances, loss of loved ones. And especially this year, it's been impacted and emphasized so much that many of us can't get past or even accept the upcoming holidays because we can't get past the impact of 2020. We can't hear you. That's okay.
Sorry, darlings.
That's
my kids was running around. I'm telling you, as soon as me and Daryl are in our studio, Daryl, yes, we are in our studio, and I'm doing this from a studio. I won't have kids running up and down. Yes, they will. They still will.
Yes, they will. Tony interrupts me all the time. We just go with the flow.
That's it. It is making sure that we manage this and caring enough about people, and so, John Henry, you manage people on an executive level, right? And then you also serve people within your church community. And so what is a way that how do you manage it? Because I think it's important as leaders. Let's talk a little bit about that before we talk about how can you help your teams and your community, because you have to be healthy. So how do you manage or how would you tell a leader or, someone who, a husband, a wife, someone who's leading a home, how to help them kind of manage that and navigate that?
Yeah, I think that's great. That's a really good question. I will tell you, I'll start out with saying that this isn't a silver bullet, and it's important for you to figure out your rhythm and what works for you. So I will offer what works for me. It would be extremely easy for me to be completely overwhelmed by my own problems, if I did not have a regimen in place by which I can kind of release some of the natural pressures that accompany life, not just limited to COVID or this pandemic or 2020. That's a whole nother scenario. So it's already challenging to kind of manage that for an individual. But when you take a look at your circle of influence, in me, whether it would be in the corporate space or whether it would be in the nonprofit space as a pastor serving people, once you have this heart where you care about people, I mean, really care about people, then you really want to do everything that you possibly can to make whatever is going wrong in their life, make it right. But what I have learned is I've learned that it is my job to the best of my ability to serve people and not save people. So for me, the way that I'm able to manage and to be effective is I understand that if I'm going to effectively serve people, then I have to find just a slither of just selfishness and learn how to serve myself. And what does that look like? That means that I understand that I can only bear so much. So I put the appropriate boundaries in place. And so whether that means that I don't answer my phone during certain hours, if that means that there are certain times where I go on an unplanned sabbatical, right? And so baby, what you'll know is I'll go out and I'll light a fire on the patio in a minute. Right. And I will just sit out there and I'll shut down for an hour or two because this is my time of sabbatical, because I have to keep my soul healthy. Because if my soul isn't healthy, then it will be extremely difficult for me to effectively serve other people. And so that's one of the things that I do is some of you all know this year has been the worst year of my life. I grieved the majority of this year, the passing of my father. And when I sat down and I thought about it, there would be moments where I would literally go run and hide in the pantry, crying, having an emotional breakdown and feeling all of the feels. But in that same moment, I would still have to prepare dinner. I would still have to have the talks with my family and show up and serve the people in our church community. I still had to run and lead a business, right? And so it's really not just compartmentalizing, because that may or may not work, but it's understanding that I have the appropriate boundaries in place to serve me. And serving me this year looked differently. In some cases, I was chilling on the patio. Some cases, I was in the pantry crying. But I allowed myself to feel and to process. The danger comes when I don't allow myself to feel and to process what it is that I'm feeling.
Yeah, that's so good. Marty.
Yeah. Pastor, you said so many relevant things that I think, especially we as a culture, and then I'm going to say we as men, no matter what culture we come from, don't take the time to do. Because even when you said be a little bit selfish and take care of me, I think we have a misnomer about the term self-care. That we have bred self-care as being a selfish act instead of a selfless act. I can't even begin to, and I love what you said, that you are there to serve and not to save. I can't even begin to serve you first and properly till I learn how to serve myself and learn what that balance is. As you say, serving myself today might be sitting outside by the fire pit drinking a cup of coffee. Serving myself might be, like you said, going in the pantry and crying in solitude and saying, wow, this hurts, and I don't even know how to begin to heal my life from there. Serving might be just, you know what, taking a walk and just hearing and allowing God to speak to you. So I applaud you, even though this was the most difficult time, that you have helped so many people just here who are listening to this now. It's okay to put boundaries on the world and yourself in order to heal and take some time for self-care so that I can serve you better and not try to save you.
Oh, that's
I
so
appreciate that.
good.
Thank you.
That's so good. I mean, there was so much in there,
Yes.
I love the
Yes.
thing about serving and not saving, because I think we
Yes.
all get into and all can have this Messiah complex as parents, as friends, as spouses, as community, I think it's naturally in us to want to save, right? To want to
Mhm.
rescue. I don't want you to go through what I went through. I don't want you to have to go through this if you don't have to. I want to do that. And oftentimes we are doing way too much,
Mhm.
right? Way past our capacity. I think
Mhm.
it's important that one of the things, babe, that you said, and I'm so glad you said it as a man, to
Yes.
say, listen, I go in my listen because the kids are coming downstairs and I'm having a breakdown. So I go hide in the pantry so
Mhm.
they can't hear that. But also, I want to say, because I live with you, is that he'll have these moments. And sometimes you may not be able to put verbiage, right? You may
Mhm.
not be able to put words to it. But when you can, tell someone.
That's right.
So
Mhm.
in that moment, I may not have known he's been in the pantry, he's been outside, and it may take a little bit, but then he'll come and he'll say, today, I'm having a hard day.
Mhm.
I'm
Mhm.
having a hard day. And even checking up,
Mhm.
me sometimes just checking in, hey, how's it
Yes.
going? Because you may, for me, I live with him, but we have single family and friends that we don't
Mhm.
necessarily see. And
Mhm.
so checking up on them, I
Mhm.
think helps just to make
Yes.
sure that they know, hey, somebody's thinking about you.
Yeah. It's very interesting because we should never, it's easy for people to assume, oh, he all right,
Mhm.
you know, or they're okay because you see them functioning in their function.
Right.
Right.
And they're gifted to do that. There's an
Yes.
anointing to do that. There is a grace to do that. But even as we look at Jesus,
Mhm.
the model, the scripture would always say, and he withdrew himself,
Yes, he did. Yes,
right?
he did.
There will be these moments periodically that he will withdraw himself so
Yes.
that often the scripture is silent to the depth of it. It would just say to go pray, right?
Mhm.
But we don't understand what he was praying about. We get a glimpse in the Garden of Gethsemane, the
Right.
intensity of what
Come
he
on and
was
teach
praying
us.
about and the intensity of that, where the
Yes.
Bible says that sweat came down like blood. And we get a clue
Yes.
into that time when he withdrew, right?
Right.
But other times we often don't get a clue a glimpse into what that looks like. And so I think it's extremely important, especially for those who are leaders, whether it's on a grand scale or whether you are
Yes.
just leading within your small sphere
Yes.
of influence. It is critical to, and I don't do the best at this, right? I'm getting better at this, but it
Right.
is critical to allow those you pour into to pour into you.
Oh, that's
Yes.
That's
so good.
important. And
You know,
sometimes they don't even know that you need to be poured into.
yes.
And so your vulnerability and it's strong to give them a peek into your pain. Not everybody,
Right.
but those who can handle it, to give them a peek into your pain. And I
Mhm.
got lots of stories, of people who this time I remember I would leave from preaching a powerful message and go in my office and be weeping and crying. And I had
Mhm.
Ray right there just handing me tissues till I gathered myself together and I
Right.
walk outside and hug and start pastoring everybody again.
Yes.
So it's literally this rhythm. And so if you get this feel, but also let people who you pour into you.
Yeah, I love that. I really want to ask this question even to both of you
Mhm.
is, during the holiday season, for me, we have this, about my Christmas trees, but we have this huge Christmas Eve extravaganza. And
Mhm.
I invite people from work when I was working, coworkers, we invite friends, we invite family, we do a buffet of some type, we do a white elephant. I mean, we just do the whole thing. I mean,
Right.
adults and kids. My kids look forward to it, even though they fuss about, oh, we got to do this, but they love it. My husband fusses about it. I don't know who that guy is, but but he loves it. And this year we can't do it. And so I want to know, what are some things that people who even don't have that, right? But they're not going to be able to see friends and family. They haven't seen a lot of their friends and family, especially when we think about our seniors, right? That are
Mm.
like, hey, I'm at that age where I shouldn't be around people unless you're kind of like in my bubble and I know you're safe. So what are some things that we can do to celebrate the holidays, even if we will not be with our friends and family?
I think there's one thing that can definitely happen. I look at it this way: tragedy can produce triumph,
Mhm.
but we have to change our stinking thinking. You,
Yes.
you know my phrase with that, changing our stinking thinking. So that means we have to start getting creative in the way that we do and celebrate some of the traditional things that we normally do. Portia, we're like you. My family, I have a huge family, and we usually have about 100 that come to our annual Christmas Eve family and friends celebration. And my aunt texted me last week and says, "What are we doing?" I said, "We're doing Zoom." She goes, "Well, I'm not doing Zoom." I said, "Well, I'm not coming around. I have a 74-year-old mother and then a almost 5-year-old who has some pre-existing conditions that I need to make sure that we protect." And so creating some different things that will allow you to be still connected in that. For Thanksgiving, we played so many board games. And let me tell you, the laughter and the joy that was in this house was amazing. And it reminded me when days were simple. Pastor John, when we didn't have didn't have $2,500, $3,000, $5,000 to spend on Christmas, where you had maybe 300 and you had to buy 15, 20 gifts from
Come
that.
on.
And get your meal out of that as well. You learned how to be creative. Listen, go outside the norm. Be creative. Handwrite some Christmas cards. Handwrite a love note. Email a note. It really is about the connectivity versus the gift. We said it's not about the gift, but it's about the giver of the gift and remaining socially connected, even though we have to remain physically distant.
Yes.
I
I
love
love
that.
that. Let's talk about gifts for 1 minute because listen, in the comments, you see that Marty gave us a gift today. He is the whole nutcracker himself. Do you see his sweater? He wore that on purpose just for you. So when you want to talk about gifts, listen, you can't be at his house, but he said, listen, I'm going to give you a whole gift on Sunday.
Yes,
I'm going to make sure that I'm the black nutcracker. You hear
that's
me?
right. That's the chocolate
Chocolate
nutcracker
nutcracker.
that Debbie Allen does out
Shout
there
Yes,
in
out to
the
Miss
LA.
chocolate
Debbie
nutcracker.
Allen.
Oh
Yes,
goodness. Yes,
yes.
my husband has a crush on Debbie Allen. Listen, I'm
Listen,
telling you.
ever since Fame, you're
I'm
gonna
telling you.
this is where the work starts. You're gonna sweat right here. Go ahead, Debbie.
So Marty has given us this gift. And you guys in the comments, let me hear about what you guys are going to do this year that's different. But it doesn't
Yes.
necessarily have to be a bad thing because
Right.
it's different. But what are some of the things that you guys are doing different around your friends and family to connect during this holiday? Marty's wardrobe is a gift.
I love that.
And
Listen,
babe,
I try.
babe, I'll let you go ahead and answer, if you had some
Yeah,
input
I was
on
going to
that.
jump in there. I think that
Please,
that's the
Pastor.
beauty of it. In 2 points, Marty, you spoke to it's like what life looks like right now. It hadn't always looked like that.
It
And what I
hasn't.
mean in terms of just our access to resources, right?
Right.
For a lot of people, whether you
Mm-hmm.
have a lot or whether you have more than you had, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's all in context. It hadn't always looked that way. We weren't
Right.
always to go, whether we went to Walmart or whether we went to the Waldorf Astoria,
Right.
Right, right.
whatever we had. There were moments where I actually think it's harder to think within the box than it is outside of the box.
Right.
Mhm.
Right. I think
Right.
real creativity says is I'm going to look at what it is that I have and find the heart message in that. Because what I've
Yes.
discovered is that what
Okay.
people really want is they want your heart. You can
Mm-hmm.
give somebody a Lexus or a new Tesla and it have no heart in the significance in
Yeah.
terms of which it lands. It doesn't really have an impact, right? Or you can
Right.
buy them a massive house, but you can take a paper towel and write a love poem on it from your
Yes.
heart. And
And
it
it
can
means
satisfy this soul, this emotional need that I
Yes.
believe that what people need right now are back to those human needs. They need to know that they're seen, They need to know
Yes.
that they're heard, that there
Yes.
is value there. And
Right.
so in this time where we cannot physically go gather, probably
Yes.
touch and hug, maybe there are a lot of people who have been impacted economically as a result of
Right.
this pandemic. And I know you had a full Christmas list or this idea, or you may even have
Mhm.
had something in your mind that this is the year where I'm going to do this for this person or
Right.
get
Right.
this for this person. But life happens, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
The motive behind that was that you are going to give them a piece of your heart. And
Right.
that is what this pandemic cannot steal away from you. This
Yeah.
pandemic cannot rob
Okay.
you of the gift of compassion. It cannot rob you of the gift of selflessness. It cannot rob you of the gift of decency and kindness. And so, what I would challenge is one of the things that I'm doing is trying to be creative with what it is
Yes.
that I have, right? I'm going to
Mhm.
buy some stuff, right? But I'm also going to try to do little things that demonstrate I see you, there's value to you, you
Yes.
matter, you are not alone.
Yes.
That's
Sounds
so
like you're going to
important,
be in the
Pastor.
12 days of impact.
Ah,
You know, I wrote a book.
You did write a book. Anyway, don't, we're not
wait a
going there.
minute. Am I
No,
the first one to know about this book?
no, we don't even have time, Marty. We
Okay,
literally,
okay.
we don't
We'll,
even
we'll
have time.
talk
We'll talk.
offline. We will definitely talk offline. But you know what? Share this as well. We have to set realistic expectations during
Yes.
this season while maintaining and preserving the whole meaning of this.
Yes.
Just like Pastor was saying, set realistic expectations. Listen, I much rather send you a note or a Christmas card. Remember when we used to get Christmas cards in the mail and we looked for them and people wrote a note? That meant
Yes.
so much more than just a gift card most of the time. Because listen, I appreciate that. One of my patients, oh my God, I'm trying not to get teary-eyed, wrote me a letter last year for Christmas, and she said, I never met a superhero before until I met you.
Oh,
Talking about, Pastor, the tears that just came down, and I will always cherish that. That was the best gift anyone could have given me that entire, probably this whole decade, because it came from her heart. I knew she didn't have a lot of money. I knew she was greatly impacted by so much. We were unpacking so much trauma. It was a difficult year because I was
right.
pressing her to get past some of this trauma. And she says, I never met a superhero before until I met you.
Wow.
That was the
Yeah.
best Christmas gift I could have ever received.
Wow.
That's incredible. One of the things that I've started to do is, and I have bought a couple of gifts, but it's to people that don't expect it, right? Because there's some
Yes.
gifts that I'm buying to like family. They expect it. They're, if they get it from me, and when I say expectation, it's like, oh, if I get one from Portia, okay, this isn't a big deal because I'm her
Right.
friend, I'm her family member.
Right.
And so over this week, like literally, I am like bursting at the seams until some of the people start to receive their gifts. And so, and it's like people that like they probably wouldn't even think that, oh my God, I got a gift. So that's one of the things that I am doing. And then since we can't have our Christmas Eve, there are gifts that I bought for people that I do know. And so, I'm gonna be a little bit like old Saint Nick, and drop those off at their porch.
Right.
It's
So
great.
it gives
You know,
them.
I love giving. That is
you
if
Is that your love language, Pastor?
that is my love, not
And get-
receiving, but
receiving
giving.
is mine
Giving,
though.
But
giving,
I feel loved when I'm able to give.
Yes.
My wife
Yes.
gets up and she said, that boy giving everything away. He'll give it away for free. But I get such joy in giving. So maybe we do an episode about, how to give a good gift, a meaningful, impactful
Yes.
gift. I think that'd be pretty good.
That would
But
be.
it really starts just pay attention. And then, I try to rip off Oprah, right? I do John Henry's favorite things, but I do it all throughout the year, right? So
Okay.
if I find something that I like very much so,
Right.
I'm getting ready to, I'm going to buy it for somebody else. I got this
Right.
latest discovery. I'll call it my royal attire. You understand?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It is a furry, luxurious
Come on.
robe and a do-rag. And so I would not just start buying the robes and giving them to people. I didn't give them the do-rag because they didn't have no hair, but we're going to get better next year.
Hey, we're going to try.
I think that's so good, right? And so we're talking about gift giving, but there's
Yes.
so many things that families can do together. You know, a lot of families were impacted by
Mm-hmm.
the pandemic, and they're
Yes.
still reeling. And so trying to come to grips with the fact of how do I give my kids something, right? Because they've had a hard year too, but
Mm-hmm.
maybe I don't have the funds to do that. So thinking
Right.
of ways that you can make sure that this is meaningful without going in debt, and with keeping your mental right.
Right.
Because Marty,
Right.
I do want to touch on that a little bit, because it's peeling some layers, right, that we probably don't have
Yes.
time to get to. But
Right.
there is inside of us, there's different reasons, right,
Mm-hmm.
why we feel like we have to give to our kids. Maybe it's because I want them to have more than I had.
Mm.
Right.
It's the way that I feel like I'm loved if I
Mm-hmm.
give, right? There's so
Mm-hmm.
many reasons,
Mm-hmm.
but really speaking to if you're not able, right? We're going
Right.
to talk about some ways to do it. But what
Right.
about mentally? How do I tell myself as a mom, as a dad, that I didn't fail because this year I couldn't do what I wanted to do? Or, that
Sure.
feeling.
I agree. There's so many times our children do know what's up. I was watching CNN, and they were displaying, and the post office had shared, and I think you can go to U.S. Post Office and look at that, where they have put a lot of the letters up from children. And there's thousands, if not a million children who says, I don't want anything for Christmas this year. I only want my dad to get a job, or can you please get my mom something? Children are very sensitive, and they understand hardships better than we give them credit for. Maybe just having a family meeting and say, hey, guys, we're only able to get one thing for the entire family. What might that one thing that we can do that we can share together? And I say that to say this: be open to new and creating new
I love that.
traditions for your family. And can you imagine now the new tradition that you can create as a result of 2020 that can
Mhm.
bind and keep your family
Mhm.
that much stronger and preserve it that much
Mhm.
more? Because it's really not about the gifts, as I said earlier, or the quantity, or the amount of money you paid for it. If all else fails, if I have you, we have each other. That's more than any gift that we can ever give. So maybe having that conversation. And then the last thing I would say is this: think back to why it is so important for you to give.
Mm.
I share with my kids, I said, listen, we're blessed. You have more clothes than you can put on. You got more shoes. You have the latest of everything, the latest phone. So let's give to someone else, like you were saying, Portia and Pastor. Let's give to someone else who's less fortunate.
Mhm.
Let's not worry about how much we give to each other, or even if we
Right.
do give to each other, because listen, we have warm beds to sleep in. We're not sleeping out in the street. You can open up that refrigerator, and
And
we
get
have too much food. Come on, if y'all, like any black family, we got a refrigerator in the garage, a deep freezer. Come on, with stuff that's at the bottom we ain't seen in 5 years, and but it really is about being open to new traditions and really exploring why does that mean so much. And we need to shake those old traditions that don't mean anything, or we didn't understand why we did that,
right.
to encompass and embrace the new traditions
Mhm.
of today in light of 2020.
Mhm.
Absolutely. I
Mhm.
love that. I want to say this. I remember a Christmas and a couple Christmases where I couldn't get what I
Mm-hmm.
wanted, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think you're so right about children knowing,
Mm-hmm.
and how quickly Christmas goes, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
how quickly that moment is of, oh my goodness, the kids are up, they open their presents literally within the hour, they're like off doing something else. But
Right.
I remember not getting what I wanted. And I remember my parents having a hard time, and me going to my parents and saying, it's really okay. Like, honestly, what you gave me was enough. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think I say that because, of course, as a parent, I absolutely want to be able to give my kids, but you're right that they understand way more than we give them credit for. And
Mhm.
oftentimes the reason we have to give them gifts or want to is to really heal something in us. right?
Mm-hmm.
Something that's going
Mhm.
on in us. So I just say that because it
Right.
really is important, and to have those conversations with your family. You know, for me on Christmas, you know, the kids open their gifts. I love to see that. But what I really love is right around 9 o'clock, we're somewhere on the couch with our throws, laughing. They're not even playing with their toys. Don't even know if they're going to play with them, but you know, and we're on the couch and we're watching a movie. That for me is like the
Mm-hmm.
essence of everything. The culmination of the
Right.
holiday season is being on my couch with my kids, drinking a good cup of coffee and watching a movie. And so I think you're right about making those. You see all those
Yes.
coffee pots in the back, um, and making those memories
That's
with
right.
one another.
I love that.
Yes.
You know, I was thinking as we were having this discussion about a handle or something that we can throw out to people who may be in a position where we're saying, you know what, y'all don't even understand the reality of this year for me. And like
Mm.
it is real. You know, one of the things that I talk to one of the things that I talk to folks about is dreaming, right?
Yes.
And so perhaps Christmas or the holidays won't look like it has looked in the past as a
Mm-hmm.
result of just the circumstances of this year. You know, what I'll offer is it would be really cool to pull everybody in the house together
Yeah.
and make your list, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe set a goal and say,
Yes.
this is what we're going to do. This is what I wanted this year, and
Right.
maybe I couldn't get it, but we go check this list off over the next year,
That's
you
good.
know,
That's
and
good.
make it public, put it somewhere. For years we had this white piece of butcher board, and I
Right.
set it right on the way out the garage, and it had this Scott family confession. Could I type it up and put it in the big fancy thing? Yes, but why? I just wrote
Why?
it on the thing. We can take
Yeah.
that exact same concept and create some
Ooh.
excitement around that, and as you're able to check those things off, then the family celebrates it. And what it does
Yes.
is it marks the moment. Everyone is involved, but there's this idea of collective vision casting, right?
Mm-hmm.
And collective hope that we all have some skin in the game. And it's exciting. It's
Oh yeah.
exciting when everybody's aligned around that and you just mark it off. It may be March or it may be next October or November before everything is marked off, but it shows this manifested momentum
Wow.
back to what our new normal looks like.
That's
Pastor, I'm
so
I'm
good.
taking that one. I'm about to share it with all my therapists. That's going to be the new intervention for the rest of this year
Yeah, I
to
think
all of our families. It's
yeah.
beautiful.
That's right. It's so, so good. I love that manifested momentum,
Mm-hmm.
right? That you check off the things and that you dream. You know, we have dreaming sessions all the time, and people can look at you sometime and say, "Oh, well, you got this, you got this, you got this." But you know, we'll have these sessions where we go back to when we were first married, or
Mm-hmm.
what we're having dreams about, because there's still so much that God has promised us, not even in
Right.
things, not even material things, but just things that we'll be able to see. You know, like we say, we love to give. Pastor will give. I mean, he'd give everything, and I would have to stop him. I'm just saying, I'm his buffer. But one of the things that you know, I cannot wait for the day when we can buy a house and we can put someone in a house. Those are the things that we think about. You know, we think about for our own community, our church
Right.
community. We cast vision all the time, and we're saying like we cannot wait till there's a line of cars that pull up to
Mm-hmm.
MARTA is our public transportation, and we pull up to the MARTA station and we're just giving a car. You get a car, you get a car, you get a car. You know, if Oprah could give cars away, I could
Why can't
clearly give
we?
cars. Hello.
Why can't
So,
we?
you know, I love all of, yes.
Is
And
that Aaron?
Pastor Aaron will give it all away too. Where's Katie?
Yeah.
But
Listen,
I
they believe
love
the
that.
philosophy you can't beat God giving. The more
Right,
you give,
right.
the more He gives to you.
Exactly.
Just keep
So
on giving because it's really true. Don't make me sing.
so we talked about kind of the dreaming.
Yes.
Mentally though, Marty, what are some
Hmm.
things that we can do with our family? I feel like this year has taught us a lot, right? Moms and dads are going to see somebody now. How do we incorporate that going forward as part of, our family vision? Well, let's make sure we're healthy mentally. What are some
Yes.
things that we can do as we prepare to go into 21 that's a habit that we build inside our families?
I love that. Yes.
And I think even inside,
Yes.
John, I'll let you talk about this too, but even inside our company cultures or our
Mhm.
team cultures or, stuff like that. But how do we build this mental kind of strength?
That is so beautiful what you're saying. And I'm
Love
going to
that.
piggyback on what Pastor said earlier about creating vision, mission, and value statements. I've been sending so many of my couples and families that are having problems or having this conflict. I said, well, what does your family stand for? And there's crickets. And so too often, like Pastor said, if we get the block butcher paper and just pull it up and get buy-in, what do you stand for? What do you believe? When people call on the Scott name, when people call on the seller's name,
Come
what
on.
should the first thing that come out of their mouths say about us as a family? And then when you run everything back through the vision, through the mission, through the value statements of your family, you won't worry about, well, what does 2020 Christmas look like? Well, that wasn't, the gift giving wasn't our value. It
Come on.
was the
So
serving that was
good.
our value,
Yeah.
and not the saving portion. So it doesn't matter what comes in society or what have you, because if it cannot come through, I was going to say the cross of Jesus Christ, but that too, if it cannot come through our vision and mission and value statement, then we don't have a problem saying, well, that was for everyone else. That's not for us, because we know what the statement for Nike is: just do it.
Do it.
We know State Farm, like a good neighbor.
State Farm is there.
See, exactly. We know Allstate. They're the good hands people. So,
Right.
so what do we say about our family? What does it say about us as a person? Because as soon as we get that value together, baby, we ain't got to worry about anything else. We'll be like, well, yeah, we love Christmas and we love that. But listen, that particular thing that you're trying to commercialize doesn't apply to us, because we know who we are and whose we are.
That's
I
so
love that.
good, Marty. Like putting that in perspective, right? Putting
Yes.
that vision into perspective, not even families, but even to my singles that are at home. And
Yes.
this is really hard because they can't get to their families,
Right.
but changing that perception, right? And changing what this means. Yes, Christmas is with my family and around my family. And this Christmas, I can't be around them. But in order to stay mentally, what can I give? Who can I
Yes.
out to, or whatever it is, whatever that value, that mission, the life philosophy, right?
Right.
Whatever that is, and then coming back to that puts so much in perspective that it is now you go through that lens of what is my life philosophy or my
Right.
family vision. And I think it speaks, John and I'll say stuff like, that's not the culture of our marriage, right?
Correct.
Right. That's
When
good.
something is out of line, we're quick to say that's not the culture of our marriage. And so even in our own lives,
Come on,
that's
Scott
not
culture.
the culture of my life, right? That's
But that is so important, because
Right.
too many of us don't understand culture and don't understand who we are. See, 2020 has made us and forced us to deal with ourselves, and we didn't like the reflection that was coming back at us. And that's been one of the major problems, Pastor. I've even had pastors now coming to me that from different states that have been referrals, and
Right.
Pastor, I would love for us to brainstorm, because I think so many pastors are suffering because they're trying to save and not serve, and they don't even realize that. Even they say, hey, in my serving, I need someone to service me, to serve me as
Absolutely.
well,
That's
to
right.
serve my healing. So however we can change the mindset, that's going to be the winning.
Absolutely. Fully agree.
Absolutely.
I fully agree. That's it. That's the idea. I was going to jump in there when you all were talking about vision and how critical it is. One of the things that I encourage people to do is I say a year from now, you're being interviewed by a reputable news firm, right? Whether it's print or whether it's media. And they ask, what is the headline, that's going to govern the story that they're going to tell? What is that? right? What is that headline? So December 2021, as you look at your life, as you look at the headline over your mind, as you look at the headline over your health, as you look
Yes.
at the headline over your finance, as you look at
Yes.
the headline over your family, as you look at the headline over your business, what is that
Right.
dominant headline? And so
Mhm.
getting clarity around that, and
Mhm.
then
Yes.
now you start to build the roadmap towards that.
That's
And so,
right.
really, what that does is that becomes the filter of focus. And I
Ooh.
filter everything
Thing
through
out of
that
so
so that
good.
allows me to stay focused. And so, this way, I don't get myself overtaxed in things that get me off focus.
That's
I
right.
bounce that up against, does this match? Nope, this isn't going to hit. So then now it
Right.
becomes optional. I get the
Yes.
choice. I
Yes.
get the choice of whether or not I want to do that, but it is not obligatory for me because it's not aligned with my headline. And so I think it's
Yes.
extremely important to be able to do that. Even right now, right? You can still drink. That's one of the things that I encourage all of us to think about is that pandemics, pain, problems, storms,
Right.
that
Right.
you can lock me up, but not my mind,
That's
but
right.
not
Yes.
my vision, right?
Yes.
And so I am only a prisoner when I am a prisoner in my mind.
Mhm.
So in my mind, I am not shackled. I can
Right.
still think, I can still dream, I can still believe. But let me add balance to that. What happens when life is weighing down on
Mhm.
my mind?
Mhm.
Come
That's
on.
the
Mhm.
key. That's the key.
That's true.
That's the key is
It
how do
is.
I take the pain of the moment that I'm dealing with and I say, all right, God, you got to help me out with this. And I think that that's the answer, right? So
Yes.
before we can go on and we can do that, we are obviously going to speak from the point of our pain. So I got to do something with my pain. And
Yes.
Jesus gives us a clue to that. And I know it's hard, but it is really easy. He says, come to me if you're weary
Yes.
and you're heavy
Heavy
laden,
laden.
and I will give you rest. He says, cast it
Y-
on me
Yes.
because I care for
I
you
care.
and my burdens are easy and my yoke
Right.
is light. And so really it's one of the opportunities that we have as leaders, as friends, as brothers, as sisters, as husbands, as wives, is just to really partner with people and be like, because I don't got the answer to this, but I do know how to help cast, right? So maybe
Yes.
you're too close to it that you can't cast it on the Lord, right? Because it's too comfortable, it's
Yes.
dysfunctional, but you
Yes.
know it,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Right.
And so how do I go in and I create the appropriate partners? One of my best friends is on right now, a Ron, right? How do I get the appropriate people that's going to get me to this point where I
Mhm.
can cast it
Yes.
on the Lord,
Yes.
and then I can vision and I can dream.
That
Right.
is just so good. Go ahead, Marty.
No, I'm saying, but you said it right. I love it when you said one of your best friends are on there. So now we get that circle of
Mhm.
friends that we may not see every day, but we know we can call on them in times of need that will help shoulder that burden. That will
Mm-hmm.
be that cheerleader. Say, hey, Pastor John, you're doing well. You can do this.
Mm-hmm.
Portia, come on. I got you on this. How can I support you? Do I need to write that letter for you?
Mm-hmm.
Do I need to give you a reminder call? And so now the weight is not so heavy because I'm your brother. And
Mm-hmm.
you
Right.
I'm not gonna let my brother carry this burden alone. I'm gonna help you. Am I my
Mm-hmm.
brother's keeper? Yes, I
You
am.
are.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm
Yes.
going to help you out through this. And we're going to together get through this pandemic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's really important not to feel the pressure to be able to solve every problem.
That's right.
That's way too much pressure
It's
on
too
us. You know what
much.
I'm saying?
Can't
And
do it.
so listen, but one of my mottos is like, cuz I don't know, but I'm here. I
Yeah.
do not know, but I'm going to jump in this fire with you. You won't be in this fire by yourself. So instead of running from the pain, I'm running to the pain and we go figure it out.
Right, right. And I think not having all the answers, right? One of the things I want to say really quickly as we continue this conversation, if you have
Hmm.
any questions, you
Yes.
guys ask your questions in the comment. I don't think I said that in the beginning, but ask your questions. We're about 5 minutes from the end of the show. But if you have
Wow.
questions, how do I stay healthy? Whatever your questions are, make sure you put them in the comments and we are going to try to get to them before the end of the show. But I think, you just made a great point love just saying that I'm going to be in there with you and I don't have the answers. And I think we're so used to having to have the answers and to solve it. And sometimes it's just being with someone, right? It's just being there with them. I'm going to sit on the phone with you while you
Mhm.
cry.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Sit on the phone with you and just listen. I don't have the answers, but I'm just going to sit here so you know I'm here with you.
Sometimes just knowing that alone, that you are not by yourself,
Mhm.
makes a huge difference in someone else's life. And that's what we tell people, this is a time for survivors of suicide or family members who are surviving. One of the things I tell them, listen, you don't have to have the answers. In fact, they're not expecting you to know the answers. You can say, baby, I don't know the answer, but I'm right here. We'll figure it out together. Or not feel the pressure of having to respond. Maybe it's just like Pastor John said earlier. Maybe it is bringing a tissue. Maybe it's bringing them a bottle of water. Maybe it's just holding their hand. That's okay. And y'all, I'm going to say this. I know we're about to end. It's okay to say, I need help and I need to call a therapist. You can pray, see your pastor, go to church, and still see your therapist and maintain your salvation. Let the church say amen.
And the church
Amen.
has said amen. Yes, because I promise you, I call my girl up and be like,
Right.
and I'm proud about it. Listen, I
Right.
am because I do all of that. I pray and I seek God and I go to church. And
Yes.
then there's some things where I'm like, girl, we got to pull back this layer because your girl over here is you think you be real good. You be like, making progress, and they be like, but what about that?
Hmm.
What about that? So, and I make light of it, but I talk about it all the time. And the reason
Hmm.
why I talk about it all the time is because Marty, you said it last week. You said you're just a bundle of hope and all these things. And the only way to stay that way, and it's not all
Right.
the time, it's not
It's not.
24/7, but I have help and I have community to help me stay
Yes.
mentally strong, to help me stay
Yes.
spiritually strong. I
Hmm.
have help, and I'm a big believer in reaching out to the right people. So
Yes.
before we go, I want to give you guys each about a minute just to leave our community with something to encourage them just during this holiday season. Uh, Babe, I'll let you go first. I was about to say, Pastor, I'll let you go first.
Yeah, I will go. I wasn't ready for this, but hey, I always got something to say. I will tell you is one of the greatest assets that I've had this year is the understanding the value of rest,
Yes.
understanding the value of taking time to do nothing. And it's
Hmm.
very interesting because I'm a pretty unbothered person anyway. My wife will tell you, I'll take a break in a minute. I don't have a very crowded life. I don't put 15 things on my plate and all 15 of them be priority ones. I'm quick to put a boundary in place to say I'm unavailable. I don't have this, but I've learned the value of intentional rest, right? Meaning planning out this Sabbath time. And it was really around my 40th birthday. I went away, and it was single-handedly one of the most important things that I did for me. And I
Mm.
think that's important. And I know it may sound crazy and it may sound selfish, but it was necessary. If you consider
Yes.
the rate of suicide, if you
Hmm.
consider the rate of addictions, if you consider the rate of divorce, if you consider the rate of malpractice in a myriad of different areas, the undercurrent of that is often something that is unsettled. And so for me, being able to create moments of prolonged rest and then also this practice of intentional rest helps me to deal with the thing that is under the current and allows me to stay healthy and to keep serving at a high level. So I said all that to say, take care of you, please.
I
Take
Hmm.
care
love
of you because
I
we need you. We
absolutely.
need you.
Absolutely. Marty, I'll give you 30 seconds because Pastor took some of your minutes.
It's
Oh,
okay. It's okay. Listen, I did an interview for Mr. what I call Mr. Positivity for
Mhm.
staying positive in Christmas, and he made these three amazing points. He says, first and foremost, uh, keep living,
Mm,
keep living.
yeah.
Secondly, it's going to be grateful, show an attitude of gratitude. And
Mhm.
then finally, look for the prosperity in your life. Look for those things that are that are going well. Focus on that. Remember, the things that you feed will grow. The things that you starve will die. Feed the
So good.
positive and allow it to grow. Starve the negative so that it might die.
Oh, I love that. I love everything about that. You guys, thank you so much for just an incredible show. This was an amazing season 2 opener, and I wouldn't have wanted to do it with anybody else. So, you guys, thank you so very much. Comments are coming in,
Yes.
just talking about it. Keep living. Yes. Be grateful. All of these comments. So, while the comments are coming up, how can we stay in touch with you, babe? How can we stay in touch with you? I know you try to stay off the grid, but come on, we need to get in touch with you.
I am
Okay, so
I'm on
he is
link.
I'll tell you. He is on Instagram at I am John. Is it John H. Scott or John Scott?
I don't know.
Just find
I
him.
think John Henry Scott. I'm John Henry Scott, I
Yes,
Marty,
think.
that's
I
what
am
it is.
John
On
Henry Scott.
IG, he is I am John Henry Scott. He only posts about once a week, but still he posts. He is more active on LinkedIn, so you can find him there at John H. Scott the third. Just search it. His face will come up. You'll know who he is. And then also he serves a church here in Atlanta, Christ Culture
Yes.
Church. You can find us on Facebook at Christ Culture or Christ 2 Culture on Facebook. And if you need to get in touch with him for whatever reason,
Just
you can
get in touch
always
with her.
the secretary.
If you get her, you'll get me. That's how it works.
Amen.
That's the culture of our marriage.
Right.
Right.
So if you didn't hear any of that, but you want to talk to him, you know how to get in touch with me. So Marty, how can we keep in touch with you?
Yes, I'm on my website at mentalhealthmarty.com. Yes, thank you, Daryl. And then on Facebook at Mental Health Matters with Marty. And then on the podcast.
Come on.
Yes.
Hey.
Yes, thank you. On Mental Health Matters with Marty podcast. And we drop every Wednesday. Hey, there I am. And this Wednesday is really a continuation of this conversation today, Portia. So glad I have this amazing young man, John Daniel, who grew up in the foster care system, who is now a therapist with Marcel Consulting and Mental Health
Nice.
Services. Young black man who, by the age of 6, had been in 13 different homes. And when I say he is Mr.
Wow.
Positivity, his story is so powerful that you have to hear this because he is still being blessed and has a positive attitude about his life and his ability to help others through this pandemic.
I love it. I love that. So you guys listen Wednesday. Well, go subscribe now on Apple iTunes or wherever you get your podcast, wherever you listen. But the most important is Apple. Let me explain to you why it's important.
Yes.
So to all you Droid users, I'm sorry. But if you have an Apple device, this is why it's so important. Because that is where you can review. So give him a 5-star review and you can rate him, and review. It's very important. It's almost like Yelp. The way that you know you want to eat at that restaurant is based on the reviews. So the more reviews he has, the more good reviews he has. And his podcast is absolutely amazing. I mean, I don't even know what media company created it, but it was just amazing.
Portia's got media.
No, but this is why it is very important. Hey, Joseph, how are you doing, darling? It's very important that we go and that we do that if you have that time. And I am asking that. So you know what? You want to give a gift to Marty and go and rate his podcast and review his podcast and listen.
Beautiful.
That's absolutely free, but that's a way that you can support him in a way that's non-monetary. So thank you guys for that.
I also have a special shout out. I would like to congratulate you, baby, on season 2.
Thank
Really good
you.
season 2 opener. Very proud of you.
Thank
I see backstage all that goes into this. And so to your audience, thanks for sticking with my wife. And I'm extremely, extremely proud of you. And then
thank
also, I would like to announce right now that I will be having a podcast coming out in 2023. 2023, everyone.
I can't.
You know what? And thanks to Daryl. Like Daryl never shows up. Daryl, don't you want to come on? Okay, he said no. But
Ooh,
we are so grateful for Daryl. So he runs my
yes.
shows, he runs Marty's shows. And the way that we do this and it look effortless is because of him. So I love you guys. Thank you guys so very much. We will be back here next week. Listen, listen, listen. I want you to make sure that you tell everybody. So next week, our guest is coming on. She's going to talk about PCOS. PCOS is polycystic ovaries syndrome. And so she's actually my cousin. We talk about how it runs in the lineage. You're going to be able to see kind of the differences in the scales of PCOS when you look at me, when you look at her. And she's also talking about her weight loss journey around that. For so long, she wanted to lose weight and she wasn't able to. So she's a nutritionist. So even if you don't
Wow.
have PCOS, we're going to talk about weight loss. We're going to talk about kicking that sugar habit. Believe me, y'all know I talk about it all the time. Marty's going to be on here too because we're going to talk about it from a mental health standpoint, right? One of her issues with PCOS and mine was just getting pregnant, right? For me, I mean, it was a blessing that it happened, how it happened. And for her, she just had to have some extra help. But we want to talk about the mental behind that.
Yes.
We also want to talk a little bit about how your diet and health and nutrition affects your mental. So you guys make sure that you are here next Sunday at 7 p.m. We are 8 minutes over. Next week, I would promise that we probably won't go 8, but we may. Y'all know how we do it, but I won't hold you long. But this was our first season back. I mean, our first episode back. I wanted to make sure you had everything. Lastly, Daryl, put up the join our community. If you were not on earlier, if you're part of our text community, don't worry about it, because you will be able to get the impact of the 12 days of impact challenge. I'm going to send it out because you guys are on it. If you're not, make sure you text impact to 323-927-0998, because on Friday, we're sending out an impact calendar that is 12 days for you to make an impact. And I will tell you, the first couple of days are impacting you. It has to do with you. So Marty talked about having that vision. Day one is to look at your life philosophy, because if you don't know that, it is very hard for you to impact anybody else. So we're starting with you first, and then over the course of the days, we're going to impact others and how we can incorporate that into our lives. So if you want to be a part of that, you want to get the calendar, I'm going to show up every day on Instagram Live and Facebook. So it'll be recorded and we can talk about that. How can you make an impact that particular day as it relates to that particular topic that we're doing? So text the word impact to 323-927-0998 if you are not already part of our family. This is the last thing I promise. Courtney Gilchrist is on here, and I wanted to make sure that I put this out. Courtney is my legal counsel for Portia Scott Media. And if you have any contracts, if you have anything that you need her to look at, she is the lady to go to. She is going to be launching kind of some things coming up in the new year. So I'm happy that she's on here. I want to say this because she is a Black business. She helped me navigate a huge, huge contract. She looked at everything. And I'm telling you, it was just amazing. So if you have any questions, even if it's not contract wise, she is actually a practicing attorney. So she can help you out with that. So that is Courtney Gilchrist. Listen, just add her as your friend anyway, because you never know when you need a lawyer. Listen, because you may come into some money and you don't know how to get your money. You may need a lawyer. You may need to talk about that estate planning. And she's going to be on here as well, because what we talk about is wellness for your mind, body, and your soul. And she's going to talk about wills, and she's going to talk about setting that stuff up in the coming weeks. Anyway, I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for joining. Y'all know we don't end an episode without this. Waking up is automatic. Showing up is intentional. Today I will show up. Bye, guys.